Hey. Time for another Out of This World story from our space. It's traumatizing to catch your parents doing the deed growing up. Never mind catching your dad boinking your girlfriend in the kitchen. Today on our space, you'll never look at your kitchen counter the same way again. I just called my girlfriend having sex with my dad. I'm on mobile, so I apologize for the formatting. Throw away for privacy reasons. So to start, I, male 22, have been with my soon-to-be ex-girlfriend, Kate, fake name, female 21, for just shy of 3 years. Our relationship throughout the 3 years has been amazing. She had always been kind and supportive and very open and honest with me. We had dates often. Our lovemaking was great. We had very few arguments. But when we did get into a disagreement, we managed to communicate and come to an understanding before long. I believed our relationship to be healthy and loving, but apparently I was wrong. On to the story. About a week ago, I had started to notice that Kate was becoming very touchy about me being on or around her phone. This was odd to me because not only had she always let me use her phone to make calls if mine was flat or I didn't have immediate access to mine, but she had also downloaded games for me to play on her phone so she could distract me when she wanted to watch her shows. Kate began snapping at me for asking to borrow her phone or snatching it out of my hand if I was so much as moving it away from the edge of the counter so it wouldn't fall, and whenever I questioned her behavior, she brushed it off and explained she was just in a bad mood. Her constant dismissal of my noticeable confusion began to annoy me, so I asked her if she was hiding anything from me, which led to an argument about her saying I was accusing her of infidelity and not trusting her, and began trying to get physical with me, in which case I shut the argument down and told her to sleep in the guest bedroom. She was very angry about it, but I told her we would talk about it in the morning. When we did talk about it, she apologized for her behavior and gave me her phone. I told her I trusted her and I didn't need to go through it, and to be frank, I did trust her, and I believed her outburst to be due to the ongoing stress at work, which was clearly stupid of me. The next day, I noticed she had gotten a mist from my father. I had never known my father did like Kate or even have her contact at that. In fact, I was convinced they both disliked each other. At any and every family event, they would often argue or make snarky remarks at one another until we would have to leave due to the tense atmosphere they had created. So I decided to ask Kate why my father had called her. She physically froze and mumbled an excuse about it being my birthday soon, and he had planned something, but my father and I were never very close. So I didn't understand why he would, but I played it off and decided to go about my day. Then the following night, I had texted her explaining that I had a late shift and I would be back around 10 p.m. latest, which I did. We ended up being dismissed early due to an incident regarding our manager and a few staff, and so I was heading home by 7 p.m. I tried calling her, but she had her phone off, so I assumed it had gone flat or she had turned it off, which she does often at home. When I made it home, I noticed my father's car 2 houses down from ours, and so I tried calling him, but his phone was also turned off, which I found odd because my mother likes his phone to be on so she can call him when she needs him. She's handicapped. I assumed my mother was with him, so I opened the door quietly to surprise her, as I haven't seen her in a while, and I was met with the sight of my girlfriend bent over the kitchen counter with my father inside her. They both froze and started profusely yelling at me. It wasn't what it looked like, and they could explain, but I shut and locked the door from the outside, deadbolt, and made my way to a friend's house. Since then, they've both been blowing up my phone, apologizing and begging me not to say anything to anyone, and quite frankly, I'm just disgusted. Disgusted at my father, who is turning 60 next month, and has my mother to take care of, and disgusted in Kate, who is getting railed by my father for who knows how long. I honestly just want to throw up and set them both on fire, but I'm most worried about how my mother will take the situation, as she's very dependent on my father and adores him. How should I go about this? I don't need closure or to confront them. I don't want to know how their gross relationship started or how long it's been going on for. I just need advice on how to approach the situation without causing a bigger mess than there is. Any advice is welcome. Thank you for reading. Ask for advice, you'll get it. Okayest Potato says, wow, painful on every level. The word betrayal isn't strong enough. It's also a surreal feeling when all the odd behaviors before make sense now. This just happened too, and the fallout will unfortunately have a longer lifespan. As a gentle reminder, you don't have to figure out the situation with your mom right this minute or even tomorrow. This has got to be a huge emotional shock, and you get to take time to process what's happening and your initial emotional state before figuring out the next steps. Tigger Roth chimes in, your father will have already said something to your mother, I assume. Like a lie prepared to get her to not believe you. Have your girlfriend pack her bags. She can stay anywhere else. If she's refusing to leave, stay with a mate for now. Your mom is harder. She's in a more vulnerable position. Ultimately, it's up to her whether she wants to stay or leave. But let her know that she can stay with you or that you'll help her move her stuff out if she has another person's house she can stay at. I assume you're in a one-bedroom apartment? I don't know her personality, but given her disability and the length of their marriage, she may feel more inclined to stay. Best not to pressure her to leave. Just have you both support each other. Please let her know that she isn't less than. She doesn't deserve this, and that he had no right to do that to her, just like your girlfriend had no right to do this to you. You both deserve better than this. I'm sorry this happened. I'm worried your father will argue that he needed to be cared for instead of doing the caring to guilt your disabled mother and defining his actions excusable. But there's no excuse for cheating, especially with your son's girlfriend. It isn't what it looked like. I actually laughed out loud. Pretty sure someone getting railed from the back is exactly what it looks like. I don't think pants just accidentally end up on the floor. Jeez. I'm sorry, OP. That's not something you want to see. It's traumatizing catching your parents having sex, never mind your father having sex with your girlfriend. Update. Hey guys, I apologize for not updating you all sooner. A lot has happened since my last post, but a big thanks to those who messaged and commented with advice and kind words. Small update summary. For those who didn't see my small update. As per someone's advice, I asked my mother to lunch, and after some small talk, informed her of the situation. She was understandably upset and in denial about the situation as my father had spoken to her prior about me still holding a grudge, a story for another time, and that I would be likely to come up with a lie to turn her against him for revenge. But after showing her the messages they had sent afterward, she was distraught and visibly angry about the ordeal. I then asked her if she would be comfortable with me sending an email to her relevant family members and Kate's parents and siblings, and while she was a little reluctant about it, she had said she didn't want the backlash from his family for leaving him. I then did just that. I sent an email explaining the situation and that my mother and I would be going no contact with both Kate and my father, and low contact with anyone who gave either of us any grief for our decision. Now she is staying with her older sister while I'm with a close mate until we can figure out a stable living situation for us both. Now on to the actual update. After the email was sent, there was a radio silence for a day or two before my mother and I were bombarded with a mix of messages that I'll just summarize in small paragraphs. Kate's parents were evidently enraged that I accused their daughter of such a thing, and that they would be suing me for defamation on their daughter's behalf. I then took the liberty of sending the screenshots from both Kate's and my father's messages that they left me on scene for a couple days before replying to me and informing me that while they wouldn't sue me, they would appreciate it if I kept the situation under wraps. My father was the first to message my mother, attempting to convince her that I staged the messages and that I was being petty and lying. And when she wouldn't believe him, he accused her of cheating on him and trying to find a way out of their marriage, which evidently isn't possible for my mother, as she has trouble getting from place to place on her own. He then apologized and told her he was just frustrated and asked to see her, and when she declined, he again accused her of cheating and staying with her lover while abandoning him. My maternal grandparents and paternal grandparents had very different messages, and not in the way I thought they would. My paternal grandparents apologized for his behavior and told my mother that if she needed support in the future, they were available, and informed her they would be disowning and going no contact with my father. My maternal grandparents, however, despite being the people that raised her, told her that due to her injury and not being able to fulfill her husband's needs, it was only right of him to look elsewhere for fulfillment. And while they understood that it was wrong because it was my partner, Kate was available for him, and my mother should forgive him and move on. They also made a point to state that my mother needs my father more than he needs her. Kate's two older sisters reached out and thanked me for telling them and informed us that if we, my mother and I, need any assistance in the future in regards to my mother's health, as one is an elderly caretaker and the other is a physiotherapist, that they were willing to help. These aren't all the messages, but they're the relevant ones. I'll make a part 2 so this post doesn't get too long. Edit for clarity. In the small update above, when I state now, I mean at the time that I had commented the update, not right now. The community has some responses. I'm sitting on the pooper says, the maternal grandparents' message is ridiculous. Hope you both can heal in time. Stick together. As you can see, you are finding out who people really are. No, you can't trust use this name says, maternal grandparents would rather your mom stay in a toxic relationship than have to do anything to look out for their daughter again. F them. Jesus, your mother's parents' reaction is deplorable. Why would anyone put blame on you or your mother? How would it be your mother's fault for your father to make the choices that he did? Him and him alone are responsible for his actions. However, it's nice to see that the rest of your family is supportive. I'm glad you have those people in your life. I feel like I'm not surprised that your father would try to blame your mother on cheating. I roll. He's absolutely delusional. He'll say anything to try to excuse his own actions and avoid responsibility. Literally just spitting crap lies out of his mouth. He should have been man enough to work on a relationship with your mother and keep his penis in his pants. No one needs a piece of crap like that in their lives. Your mother deserves better. Part 2 update. Continuation of my previous update. My mother and I gave ourselves a few days to get to all the messages and phone calls and blocked my maternal grandparents as well as my father. My mother didn't already have it blocked. I contacted my landlord and real estate agent and informed them briefly of the situation, and I was no longer living on the premises and that I would like to have my name taken off the lease. Luckily, our lease was being renewed in that coming week, and the next day, they contacted Katie to inform her that I had taken my name off the lease for the following month. And in the next week, if she was unable to take on my portion of rent, she would have 3 months to vacate the property. I don't know how she reacted, but I could tell it wasn't overly ecstatic as her parents contacted me and asked if, despite everything, I would be willing to pay her rent just for this month because she doesn't have the money for it at the moment. Obviously, I declined and told them that I no longer have anything to do with her anymore. They then informed me she was pregnant with my child and needed assistance from the father of her baby, and this would be a last goodbye. I then laughed and told them I most definitely wasn't the father of that baby, and if she was pregnant and if she needed assistance from her baby daddy to contact my father. Then I hung up and blocked them. On a brighter note, my mother and I have just put a down payment on a house together and are looking into hiring a caregiver to help my mother for when I have to work or trips out of state. My father has attempted to call both of us from multiple phone numbers and had numerous family members try to persuade my mother into meeting up with him to chat. And as a result, my mother and I have gotten a new phone number to avoid his mess. I also happen to hear from a mate that Kate is trying to hire a lawyer so she can get child support money from me, but apparently because she has no proof I'm the father and refuses to take a DNA test of the baby, she hasn't had any luck. Edit 1. I forgot to mention it above as I didn't see it as important when writing this, but Kate is apparently 5 weeks pregnant. We haven't been intimate for just under 2 months, so the baby is unlikely to be mine. If it is, I will pay child support, but I want proof before I pay her money for a baby that may or may not be mine. Edit 2. Just to clarify, Kate and I weren't having issues during the time we weren't intimate. I was too tired to initiate due to work commitments, and at the time I assumed she was as well, but it's likely her needs were met by either my father or other parties. Edit 3. Something else I forgot to mention. Yes, I did get a test for STIs and UTIs and any sort of infections I may not be aware of, and all tests came back negative, so I'm in the clear in that sense. The community has some more responses. Mahi says, the update gets worse. She's pregnant and either you or your dad might be the father. Kate really set herself up for failure here. Too Crispy says, don't put your mom's name on the deed so that it becomes a marital property before their divorce. At least file for legal separation so that the house purchase is not counted toward marital property. Consult with divorce attorney and realtor to make sure this asset is protected. Exotic Feet Eye Candy chimes in, it's just sad a parent would do that to their own child. What a sick world we live in. AMN L Fire says, sheesh, the audacity of those two. Wish you and your mom nothing but the best. I'm glad you and your mother are moving on and there's steps in place to take care of her. The fact that you're taking it into your own hands to find a caregiver says so much about you and so much about who your father wasn't able to be. And there's no way you will be paying for child support of any kind without a DNA test. Lawyer up. Everything points to you having a little sibling on the way. Even if it is true, it's disgusting to think that her parents called you to ask for support, and then to slap the fact that it might be your baby in your face like that. Get real. No one can force you to into anything. I'm sorry your dad is such a scumbag, OP. What do you make of all this? What would you do if you saw your dad boinking your girlfriend? Let us know below. Thank you for joining us today on Our Space. Like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. We hate for you to miss out. If you want to listen to more stories from me, check out our lounge, where I feature a larger variety of non-cheating related stories. See you there.